Perfect. So, hi everyone. We are here today with the New Hope team, and they are going to answer all your burning questions regarding Expo West, some tips how to stand out, how to prepare your booth, especially for like first time, and is so many things happening and so many things that you have to plan to be ready for your trade show. So just make sure that you use the Q&A section to drop all your questions. We are going to try to answer as many as we can, or even better, all of them. Because if we drop in the chat, I can get lost with other messages. Just feel free to keep interacting in the chat. Just sharing your brand, where you're located. We'd love to see that. So the Q&A, it's on the bottom of your computer, but I just want to start by saying hello to the New Hope team, and I just want you two guys to do a quick introduction about yourself. So I'll start with Michelle.
Great. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited. I see people from San Diego, Nashville, Mexico, all over. My name is Michelle Garsky. I am the Senior Director of Strategic Partnerships, which means I get the privilege of working with Patricia and Daniel. And especially this year, we have our very first ever Startup CPG Pavilion. And I love working with all of these brands, and just thanks for being here. Jen?
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Jen Burton. I'm the show manager for Expo West. So I work a lot with Michelle and some of these groups, and we're so excited to have you all join us this year. But yeah, I just kind of work high level on the show and oversee all the teams. So I think we have a really good group here that can help you guys get all your questions answered. Robert?
Perfect. Yeah, and my name is Robert Decker. I'm the manager of the client services team, so I'll be a pretty key contact for any logistics needs pre-show and also on show site. Me and my team of floor managers will be able to assist.
Awesome. We are super covered here today. So as I said, we have a few questions, but feel free to start dropping your questions in the Q&A section. So first one is, what should I expect as a first-time exhibitor?
I can start that, but I think probably the other two will have some add-ins. As a first-time exhibitor, like some of you may have heard in the very beginning, you're going to expect long days, but fun days. You're going to really need to take the time from now until March to follow the exhibitor service kit, which Robert Decker will go through in a little bit, but follow the kit so that you don't get so overwhelmed planning ahead of time. All of your pre-planning is really going to help the stress level when you get on site. I think, think about the fact that you've got your show floor hours that you'll be at all day long. And then you'll also have dinners. There's going to be concerts in the evenings. There's happy hours, other networking opportunities through Startup CPG and through Expo West. Both. And so make sure that you're representing your brand everywhere you go. You are going to want to have shirts or hats or something that is your brand, because you never know, you might be in a line waiting for the shuttle and that buyer that you're hoping to meet is standing next to you. So you can expect to be on basically all of the hours of the day, except for when you're in your hotel room, kind of regrouping for the next time. Be prepared that anyone could be a contact for the future. Don't be afraid to ask questions to your other fellow CPG startup CPG members, as well as all of us will have wooden New Hope badges on. Anybody that has a badge on can be able to help you, but you are part of a really amazing community, and so just have fun, wear comfortable shoes, and expect to meet a lot of great people. Jen or Decker, do you want to add?
Yeah, I can add to that too. I feel like everything you said, Michelle, is great. Definitely just that focus on like being on for such a long period of time. Take care of your bodies, take care of yourselves, take a break when you need it, make sure you have enough staff to support you and for people to have the chance to walk away for a minute and decompress. But definitely just be ready. You want to be kind and courteous to everybody that you're around, because really Expo West takes over Anaheim for the week. So even if you're at Chili's, you are probably next to somebody from the show. So when you think you're safe and alone, you're probably not. But yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement, a lot to take in, a lot of overwhelming feelings. So just be mindful and prep yourselves.
Yeah, and definitely on that, as much as you can do pre-show is going to be essential. I'll share really quick the link to our exhibitor hub guide. So this link right here, that's going to be just directions on how to get into the exhibitor hub, which is going to be really where everything is located, from your company profile on the website to also your logistics exhibitor service kit and where you'd register for badges. So if you have all of that listed out, and you do everything beforehand, because you can register on site, but registering ahead of time is going to save you a lot of time in a very long line, as Jen said, of 70,000 people. So really make sure you kind of take advantage of those pre-show tools.
And
Perfect.
one last thing, sorry, I wanted to just throw in here is, Jen mentioned taking care of yourself. We have resources too to make sure that you are safe. If you need someone to walk you back to your hotel room, make sure that that you use these resources. And I was going to drop our Expo West security number in the chat, or I can say it right now out loud, but I think Patricia, maybe if you could drop it in the chat, it's 213-222-3508. I would program that into your phones, and don't be afraid to reach out for anything at all.
Perfect. Thank you. Just quick note, I opened the chat to everyone. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the tips. Yeah, I think that when I went to Expo West the first time, I was just not ready to be as big, and I think I didn't prepare myself mentally before. So it can get like, at the end of the day, you feel so tired. You're probably like, oh, I just went to my hotel room and chill out. But really push yourself, like go to the event, as they were saying. Sometimes you never know, you can meet a retailer or a buyer or anything, or a media or a potential customer at the networking party, and it's really worth it. And it's kind of 1 week that you're really pushing the boundaries, but it's worth it. So how can I find the logistics for setting up my booth? And when can I put my booth down if I am at the hot products area?
So I'll definitely take that. So within that exhibitor hub, the guide has that login directly. Once you're logged into the exhibitor hub, you'll see exhibitor service kit as one of the key helpful links tied to your company. Within there, the first thing it's going to ask you is, which hall are you in? So if you're in the hot products section, if you're in level 300, or you're in the North halls, you would specifically click on that box that says North halls, level 3, ACC main halls, whichever section you're specifically listed in. There you can find, on kind of a sidebar on the left, you'll see shipping information, rules and regulations for the event, required forms, and for kind of putting down your booth in different sections, you'll see the targeted floor plan. That specifically is going to be color coded based on booth number for what booths are allowed to move in on which specific days. So in the hot products section, it's pretty easy. It's basically just one part of it. The top is yellow and the bottom is pink, and then that's pretty much the overwhelming majority of the map for hot products. For the main halls, it's a little more complicated, but almost everyone, unless you're specifically a last in, first out booth, is going to have at least the day before the event to be doing the setup for the show, and you can confirm within that targeted floor plan.
Thank you. Yeah, we get so many people asking, like, if they're in the hot products, like, hey, can I put my booth down on Saturday? And from my experience, like, they can go in on Saturday and clean their stuff. They don't need to do on Friday, right?
So if I go, let me just pull this up directly as
Thank
an
you.
example. So looking over for the North Halls, specifically for hot products, it's just loading up. The overwhelming majority of booths can move in starting Sunday, March 10th. There are a couple of specific side booths that can only start moving in on March 11th. And then there are very few number of booths that can move in essentially just the morning of the show. You would within a conversation with the kind of actual booth sales agreement, you would have been told if you were a last in, first out, or LIFO booth. So the majority of your North Hall hot products booths can move in starting on Sunday, March 10th.
Perfect. Thank you. So I'll do the first question here in the Q&A from Simon. How many samples should we plan on serving each day? For reference, we are a canned beverage.
Gotcha. So client services, we have kind of a sample calculator. We generally recommend against just handing out samples to everyone that walks by. Really try to hand out samples specifically to attendees that are going to be really you're having a conversation with, for instance. So with that kind of sample formula, we recommend determining kind of the number of product demonstrations that one person can make in 1 hour. Multiply that by the number of hours for show. So I believe in the North Halls, someone could correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 22 hours. And then in the main halls, it might be 23 hours or 24 hours specifically. So pretty much a full day across those 3 days there. And then multiplying that number by the number of sales staff in your booth. So say you have 5 people in your booth and everyone can talk to 10 people an hour. That's 50 people an hour times 24. That's a little over 1,000 samples as probably a good minimum for a lot of booths that are going to have 6 badges for a standard kind of 10 by 10 experience. So that's what I would generally recommend is kind of run through a product demonstration just kind of back at home and see how long that takes you and then figure it out from there.
I would just add to that too, specifically something to think about, especially with like a canned beverage, is if you're going to hand out that whole can to whoever you're talking to, or if you're going to do what we call open sampling. So if you have a cup and you're just filling a little bit of each can at a time, that's obviously going to change your sample numbers as well. So if you want to save handing a can to somebody who you are having like a really valuable long conversation with, and then maybe do like the cups for the people that are just walking by, I think that could be a good approach. But yeah, it kind of depends on what your approach to sampling is.
Oh, I thought it was muted. Sorry. Thank you. And then how many staff should we have per booth?
So by default, the number of staff of allotted badges. So I also see a question about until when can we register badges? You will have 6 badges plus 1 primary contact per kind of standard booth size. So the standard booth size in the hot product section is an 8 by 10. The standard booth size in the main halls is a 10 by 10. So you would get 6 badges per 10 by 10 plus 1 primary contact. If you have a 10 by 20, you get 12 plus 1, so 13 effectively. A 20 by 20 is going to be 6 times 4, so 24 badges there. With that, you don't necessarily need to take up every single slot, but you definitely can. Until when can you register badges? You can register, honestly, even on site. Registration closes on the last day of the event. Definitely register before that if you can. The other thing kind of notably is you get those allotted number of badges included in your booth purchase price. Beyond that, there is a fee, which is half of the standard attendee manufacturer rate. So the standard attendee manufacturer rate currently is $1,295. So half of that is $600. I think right now, $650 is what we have it set to until January 28th, where that price will increase by $50, and then it'll increase one more time before the show. So if you have more staff that you want to bring beyond your allotted amount, definitely get those team members registered before the end of this month.
And one thing I want to add too to that that pricing, the reason why, because a lot of people wonder why is the price so much for a badge for someone that's not exhibiting, and we do that really strategically because we want to protect the integrity of the show floor for the people that are paying for their booth and working all the hours in the booth, and we want them to be able to get the meetings. And so we do charge more excuse me, as a non-exhibitor. And so if you're sending a couple of people to the show, it would be more beneficial to you to purchase a booth, even a smaller 5x10, and have a booth, and then you get those badges along with it. And you're spending around the same amount of money depending on the size of the booth.
Thank you. And then what I want to add here is we have a few brands that sometimes they come to me and they're like, hey, we are only a 2-people team or 3-people team. Is that enough for the show? What else can we do with our badge? I just dropped here in the chat, we created like a volunteer list where people from our community that want to go to the show, mostly they are like founders as well or some service providers, and they will help you working at the show for a few hours, so you can also like walk around and see what is happening. So your booth is not alone, so you can just go through this list and see if you want to like contact anyone to help at your booth if you have extra badges and looking for help. And then talking about the booth, price for badge and everything, what other costs should I think about besides the booth cost or the badge cost?
Yeah, so a couple of key costs, especially if you're in the North Halls or the hot product zone kind of generally, there is a carpet requirement. So that is essential if you are in the North Halls specifically to have carpet. In the main halls, carpet is not required. So that carpet would need to fill out that entire booth space. So that would be essentially a mandatory cost in that part of the building. Otherwise, shipping cost and kind of with that, a material handling fee is something that you should be aware of. The material handling fee within the kind of standard material handling rate, it's $1.50 per pound. So that would be, if you ship, it would cost $1.50 per pound for any kind of internal to the building transportation. So getting your things from the warehouse to your booth space basically is what that $1.50 per pound. That's the standard rate. There is a higher rate if you miss the deadline, and I believe that's $1.80 per pound specifically. So that's going to be required if you ship. There is also a way around shipping, which would be kind of a direct to show site personally owned vehicle drop off that has an upper limit of 600 pounds for a cartload service that you would be able to order as well. So that's if you're shipping in your entire setup. You can also instead rent a setup if needed specifically.
Perfect. And then can we talk a little about the refrigerated space? So we have Caitlin question, curious about refrigerated space during Expo and where to find whether or not we have that secure.
Let's see. Also within that exhibitor service kit, you will find the refrigeration. There's a tab, it'll say refrigeration and frozen ordering. Let me get it exactly word for word. Sorry about that. Refrigerated and frozen storage. So that tab is going to show you how to ship refrigerated and frozen storage because you need specific labels for that to make sure that they go to the right place. Print shipping labels for those, and refrigerated, frozen, and dry storage ordering. So you would basically go there, you'd be able to order the storage. It's kind of based on effectively a pallet sized is where you'd be able to order that. And then you would have to also order deliveries from the cold storage area, as that would not be something that you would be able to access freely, as basically everyone's product would be in that same area. So you would need to order the storage itself, you need to ship, have it ordered for the storage, and you would also need to order the deliveries from storage to your booth on a case-by-case basis.
And that brings Katerina's question that is still about, it was the last question, the Q&A. What is the best, cheapest, safest way of putting my frozen products in our booth's freezer? Everything fits in our freezer, just need to ship it there. And how long will it take for our carrier to do it? And is this a complicated process if we want to do it directly to the booth?
So I guess would the question be that you would want to have the refrigerator just packed with your product, the doors closed, and then shipped and then delivered to your booth space? I would probably not recommend that if you were going to, if you needed to have kind of a consistent refrigeration or freezing the entire time, because it's unlikely that unless kind of shipped directly through a specialized carrier that has that kind of cold storage delivery system, it would be pretty difficult to ensure that it remains, all the product, for instance, remains frozen the entire duration of the trip. So I would recommend within that refrigerated and frozen storage order form to just ship there rather than shipping everything and taking a chance that it makes it to the end, because it likely won't, based on the electrical needs.
And I have seen quite a few times that people have done that, and they have lost their product and have to then overnight yourself more product. Or I have also seen where people have not ended up not having product with at the show at all. So I think that's a really good point that Decker just made, and we can make sure that everyone has Decker and his team's contact information so that they can continue helping with that stuff. So that's a really good one, Decker. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think you'll notice how quickly Michelle and I both came off mute just now to reinforce that message. Definitely not recommended. So
Yeah.
Everything Decker said is very accurate.
Yes. And you're not alone in that question. It comes up a lot.
Right.
And, we want to make sure that everybody has the most pertinent information. We want to save you from any extra charges or disappointment. We want you to come and have a great show.
Thank you. Talking about the booth, so we are having questions, what type of decoration are allowed for the booth? And then also I just want to bring, like, how can we, we as a brand, how can we stand out from other brands during the show?
Decker, do you want to take the first half about the decorations, and then I'll take the standing out?
Yep, perfect. So in terms of the kind of hard rules and regulations on that, for a standard inline type booth, so I know some of you have 5x10s and then also the 10x10s directly. In the you can kind of divide the booth in half, where nothing in the front half of the booth can exceed 4 feet tall, and nothing in the back half of the booth can exceed 8 feet 3 inches tall. That's your kind of allotted space for things to go within the booth space. Additionally, other kind of requirements are just kind of really making sure that things fit within the fire regulations. So certain items, you would need to potentially submit a fire certificate to confirm that there has been some kind of fire treatment to make sure that things like straw or like a faux plant is allowed at the event. As long as it has been fire treated, that's pretty much good to go. You really have within that booth space, and then those specific, that 4 foot in the front, 8 foot 3 inches in the back, you have really all of that to do with as you please. There's only a couple specific rules. You can't have tents as like a pop-up tent. as kind of a specific guideline against. You're also not allowed lighter than air balloons. So heavier than air balloons, or air filled balloons, or I suppose water balloons would be fine to sit in the booth space. Those are allowed, but helium balloons would not be allowed, as that would be a pretty significant charge if even one of those escaped and had to be retrieved from the ceiling. But really, that whole space is yours to make as you will.
And Michelle, I know you're going to get into some of those ways to stand out, but just to kind of reiterate, a lot of the stuff Decker is talking about, Robert, sorry, a lot of the stuff that Robert is talking about right now, including the shipping and including all those height requirements and the cans and can knots, definitely go into that ESK. All of this is spelled out really explicitly with shipping and refrigerated storage and all your options. So it's great to chat it out right here, and we can definitely continue to do so, but we don't expect you to remember all of this. So the ESK is really like that Bible for Expo West.
Absolutely. And one other thing about the booth, I think that you'll see it at the show, you'll see these big elaborate booths that have, 2 stories with meeting rooms and giant booths. And then you'll see also smaller booths that are somebody didn't spend, thousands and thousands of dollars, and you're both going to get the same kind of traction. You don't have to spend so much money to make your booth impactful. I mean, I kind of mentioned in the beginning, wearing the t-shirts or the hats that are your brand, have your packaging as part of your display. Something easy that we do, because we go to a lot of our partner shows for KHE and UNFI, and we do exhibit also, and we will just run to Trader Joe's or Whole Foods and get a couple little plants for our booth, just to give it like a little bit of fun, but everything else is our branding. And then what we do is somebody that we've met along the time at the show will say, oh, you live here locally? Here's a plant for you at the end of the show, or come back on the last day and I'll give you this plant. And then you're kind of like putting a smile in someone's face, and you're not really spending that much money. Let your packaging and your branding be your booth. And most importantly, then even that is, make sure you have the energy in your booth to make people want to come and talk to you. We're all going to get tired. There's going to be times I told Patricia before this call, I had my last meeting, I hadn't eaten all day, and I started to go like this and I couldn't form a sentence, but I took care of myself, got my energy back up, and then now we're in a place where we can talk to each other, we can have fun, and your energy is what's going to drive people. And then they're not going to be looking around. I mean, it's kind of like also a wedding. You plan your wedding, the only one that notices the extra details are you. Everyone else just remembers the conversations and how much fun they had, and treat it like that. So you don't have to spend a lot of extra money. I think there are some other low cost opportunities that we have too. Everything else I just talked about was mostly free. There are product showcases still for sale that are $875. That gives you another touch point in the lobby areas for the retailers to see your brands on a small shelf space and get an idea of what it would look like in their stores. And if you have a little bit of, extra budget from the $875 on up, we definitely have options to help you stand out, and that don't break the bank. We make sure we have something for every size booth, and we do know that every dollar counts. And so save the money maybe on putting more things in your booth and maybe get a product showcase.
Thank you. Yeah, and then also I would say, think about, like Michelle said, that the t-shirt of the brand, but try to go a little extra. Like I still remember that, I think was Go Nanas at Expo East. Like everyone from their team was wearing kind of this all pink outfit with a pink bag, and they were walking around the show. So that's a way that like I still remember them, because like they were super creative and different. If I'm not wrong, Wild Wonder have a very like yellow kind of floral t-shirt, so everyone from the team is using the same, and they go like with fun sunglasses and they go to the events like that. So, and also for your booth, how can you use your product case or just like the package of your products to really make your booth stand out and different? So as Michelle was saying, you don't need to like break the bank, but just be very creative. I saw this brand at Expo East that they made this, they were super creative. They made this gray panel, and then the whole team, they made their hands in kind of concrete or some like material, and then they kind of glue on the gray backdrop, and it's like that, it's just like a very clean, but it was like all the team helped to do that, and I thought it was like so unique and different, and that I still remember. It's not just like a normal backdrop as everyone have. It's something different. I'm not saying that the backdrop, I mean, Startup CPG is the backdrop. I'm not saying that it's bad, but it was so unique and different from everyone else. And then
I would add to that too.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there are companies who just do like even fun, like tablecloths. Like, there's a brand that is coming to mind that is mostly purple, and they just put like a purple sparkly fabric over their table, and it just made it stand out that much more. So I think it doesn't all have to be branded, even. It's just like bringing that extra color, that extra sparkle, just something that can be a little eye-catching is awesome.
Yeah. And then regarding the furniture too, sometimes we rent some stuff from New Hope, but we also sometimes bring some stuff from Amazon. So you can like mix how, to fit on your budget and how you feel comfortable with. And then also bring me to Laurie's question that she's asking if we think it's more engaging to have an open floor plan that people can enter the booth, or have it closed off with a sample table up front.
I've mixed mixed on that. I think maybe say you have an 8x10. I think it would be good to maybe have kind of a table that's right there as people walk by to catch them, but have a little opening also for, if you're having a conversation with that buyer from, we'll just say Kroger, and you're talking to Kroger, and you don't want people walking by like bumping into them, so then they're like not paying attention, be able to pull them a little bit into your booth. So I think kind of 50-50.
Yeah, I like the idea of having a little close, because then your product is right there in front to give to people too. But I do think it's important to have a little space, as Michelle was saying. Still about the booth, Maurizio is asking if we have to hire outside companies to help build our booth, or can we do ourselves?
So with that, there are a couple specific regulations in terms of the kind of union rules on that. Let me just see if I can find that right off the top. Show site work rules. So you'll be able to find this within that exhibitor service kit. So depending on the complexity of your booth space, you can just set it up yourself if it's something pretty simple. That kind of basic rule is you may set up your exhibit display if one person can accomplish the task in less than half of an hour without the use of tools. That is the official kind of union, the decorators union show site work rules there. So if it's just something like a table, a chair, placing your sample products up on front of that table, that's something that you can definitely do yourself without any issue. If you're going to need power tools, that's really going to need to be either an exhibitor appointed contractor, so outside labor, or specifically GES as the official general service contractor, who is the host of our exhibitor service kit. They would need to do that labor if it's more complex than essentially just a half hours of work for yourself.
And I think a good rule of thumb as you're doing this, many of you I know are going to be first time exhibitors and haven't gone through this. As you start getting on the trade show circuit and you're doing like the Unify, KHE, or Fancy Foods, or any of those others, most convention centers do have union labor rules. And so, excuse me, choking on my own air. So this will be something that you'll become accustomed to as you go about it. And Decker in the exhibitor service kit, sorry, I keep calling you Decker too. Decker in the exhibitor service kit is pointing out all of these special things for you to consider to really help keep you from the frustration and the extra costs. So, keep that in mind as you start doing other trade shows as well. You'll get more and more learnings from this, but that kit is going to be like your guideline for everything.
Kind of a follow-up question about kind of building the booth yourself. Farron is asking if hand carry and cart load are hand carry and cart load the only self-service moving options. We are building our own booth and have walls, furniture, etc. that are heavy and local in Anaheim. What's the best way to get these items to our booth?
Gotcha. Yeah. So technically, within the rules and regulations, we do have it. So, um, if it's so self move in, POV, and cart load, basically, I did kind of quote those numbers before, but the cart load service, the maximum weight on that is 600 pounds. If you did show up with something that was over 600 pounds, it would be charged at the kind of standard material handling rate as though you were just shipping it anyway. So in effect, you can do that. You would be directed basically to the shipping dock in a sense. But in terms of self-service, really it would either have to be hand carry or cart load. You could ship it yourself in effect, but that would be at that kind of standard material handling rate as though you shipped with someone else.
Thank you. Yeah, I think for us, Startup CPG, we have hired your guys' service that if we go there with the car, I think we pay $100. I don't want to say the price wrong, but I think it was $100-ish. And then
Yeah.
sorry, yeah, go.
Yep, carload service, it's actually $99. So save $1 there.
$1
for the carload
saved
service.
for a coffee. So yeah, and then we hired them, and then they just put everything that we got from the car on their cart, and then they drive to the booth with like everything that we had. Was a lot of things, and then sometimes we just carry like small items in our hands that is more fragile to the booth. I have this question here regarding Expo West marketing opportunities. So for new brands without massive budgets, which of the New Hope Expo West marketing opportunities provide the best value to raise brand awareness and drive traffic to our booth?
Yeah, so I think the one I mentioned earlier, the product showcase, I think that's one of the ones that I think everyone should have. It is our most popular opportunity because it gives such a great visual. I think, it all depends on your budget, but I think we have like a show daily newsletter that you could do a little advertisement in to drive people to your booth. I think it's going to vary from booth to booth and brand to brand, because I feel like not one size fits all. And so we would really need to talk about your objective and your budget, because we may overlook, if we just look at one of those, we may overlook something that would be perfect for you. But the showcase is really something I think everyone should have.
And then follow-up question is, how do you sign up for the product showcases and where can you find this?
Yeah, so if you want to connect with me, and then I will direct you to your account manager, unless you already know who your account manager is. Actually, you know what? I will put the link in here to so that you guys can figure out who your account manager is, and you can reach out to them, and they'll be happy to walk through the process with you and help you find the best options.
Could you explain what the print deadline for show directory is and what exactly do we have to do?
So if you're already signed up and contracted, you don't have to do anything. That just means that anybody that is contracted after that date will not be listed in the print directory. They'll be listed online only. And so if you are part of the Startup CPG group and you haven't signed your contract yet, we want to make sure you get that. And if you're, in other areas and you're just looking at a booth, we want to make sure that we get you signed up quickly, because the new exhibitor application takes a little while to get approved. And, I don't think it's the end of the world if you miss the print directory, because the online is really going to be so important. But it's another point of exposure that comes with your booth. So if you can get in by that deadline, it's best.
Thank you. Now let's talk about first time people that are either exhibiting or walking the show. So I'm a first time attendee. There is so much amazing content and things to see at Expo. How would you recommend prepping for the show floor, and two, for learning about all the opportunities plus events going on outside of Expo?
I can start that one off. Definitely keep up with our website. We put a full schedule and agenda on there. It's currently being posted right now. So a lot of sessions are starting to go live, but that mobile app, once that launches, that will be a great resource as well. Our schedule is definitely packed. So when you're on site, you'll want to favorite any sessions you want to go to, put reminders in your calendars. We also advertise a lot of our partner events on the agenda page. So under like can't miss events, you'll find some of the partner stuff going on outside of Expo. But otherwise, I think just networking on LinkedIn, Instagram, kind of pay attention to the natural products pages as well. We'll share any events that are being shared with us as well, but I know there's a ton that we don't even know about that are happening. So definitely organize your calendar. My Outlook calendar is already filled with all the things that I need to make it to for the week. So use the mobile app and your calendars.
One other thing that I would add, I know that as New Hope and Expo, we send a lot of emails. It's going to increase as you get closer to the show, but the importance of them is going to also increase. So we have several retail partners that will be doing, inviting people to their meeting rooms for specific, meetings if your products fit within those categories. And so many times we have exhibitors come and say, I just heard about, we've had a Kroger first pitch at the last couple of shows, and I believe we will have one again. But they'll say, how come I didn't get told about that? And we email it, but many people will come in the morning and be like, oh, I have 700 emails. I'm going to delete all my newsletters first and not read them so that my number can get down. Be sure to at least look at them. Also, our e-news that starts going out as we get closer to the show, that will have important information. So before you delete, be sure that you kind of read through it so you don't miss those opportunities to meet with key buyers. I put the agenda in the chat, and as Jen said, it's being updated as we speak, but those retailer meetings will not be in the agenda. So, those are definitely something you should watch your email for.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for more emails, but they're important.
Yeah, we know it's a lot. We just have so much information to share. And if you are going to delete them, just make sure you never unsubscribe. Again, we know it's a lot. We just have a ton of information that we're trying to get in your hands. So definitely pay attention before you hit that delete button.
And adding on top of everything that they said, I think the emails is definitely a good place to, just scan through, just see if there is nothing that it gets your attention before deleting. But really try to find who are the retailers or the buyers that are going to the show, contact them on LinkedIn, do a pitch to them, follow up, make sure that you go after them during the show, because it's your goal is to meet the buyer, make that happen somehow. You're going to figure your way out, go to their talks and be the last one that is standing to make sure that you talk to them. Don't stalk too much, but kind of stalk them. I would say that at our party on Thursday, I dropped the link here on Expo West. We have tons of buyers coming, media, some VCs coming as well. And I would say the networking events are definitely a good place that is not tons of brands with their booth ready to go after that same buyer that is walking that hall. But people are more laid back and chilling. So it's a good environment to connect with them. Keep up with the Slack Expo West channel of Startup CPG. People drop the events that are happening there, or we drop some other news that we're seeing there as well. And if you're posting on social media about your booth, make sure that you tag the Natural Products Expo, because they always reshare on their stories, and that's a good way for you guys to get more exposure about your booth number. Me personally, I also add a notification on during Expo for their Instagram. So every time there is a new post or new stories, I just go there and see like if there is any either booth that catches my attention or something else that I want to follow during the show. But definitely tag them, I would say. It's a good way to get more brand awareness.
Yes.
Let me see what else. When will the virtual booth be available to set up?
So we actually don't have virtual booths anymore. Our virtual inclusions are our Beacon platform, which is the online platform that when you guys have gone through your new exhibitor application, you uploaded your products, and those customers that have been around for a while were asked to upload their products. That is the resource for buyers to go through and sort and click and find what types of products are going to be at the show, so that then they can bookmark your booth and come by and visit you at in your booth.
Thank you. Oh, following up with Daniel's question that is about the first time. So I never been before. If someone, brand founder, isn't able to make it every day, are there certain days you must be at, or does content attendees change per day?
It really changes per day. I mean, if you're, I'm assuming you're meaning in addition to someone that is at your booth. I think if your founder is coming, I think the first couple of days are the busiest days. But honestly, we have had retailers tell us that they couldn't get through the whole show. And so on the last day, Friday for the hot products and Saturday for the others, they went running to a booth, and it might be, the buyer that you've been waiting for, and the most important person is gone, the founder or the decision maker. You could miss out on a deal. So I know sometimes, it's busy and people don't like to hear that, but it is very true that you could miss out on a deal by not being there.
I would just add that to that as well. Michelle makes a great point, and we have seen a lot of brands who are packing up early on that last day. And to be honest, it's really just the worst choice you could make. You don't want to be booking your flights like up against when the show floor closes. Be mindful of that, because people are coming to your booth to talk to you. And if you're packed up and gone, it's a really bad look. You've paid all this money, you've committed to all this time, stay in your booth until the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do, there's floor managers in every hall. They do keep track of people that break down early. And, especially for, I would say for everyone, but especially if you're in the startup CPG area, you don't want to make, startup CPG look bad because the section is breaking down early. So, be mindful of that, and also be mindful of your business. You don't want to miss that key person.
We talk a little about the products that are on the freezer or refrigerator. We have a question about the shelf-stable products. What are the days/times the venue can receive delivery trucks, and where can we access any delivery instructions?
So with that, with everything shelf stable, that can be shipped during the same time frame as the just kind of booth build stuff, anything, just the regular materials as well. So let me just pull that up specifically here. So for shipping to the show, really anything that does not need to be refrigerated or frozen, advanced shipments can start arriving Thursday, February 15th, and the last day for advanced shipments is Thursday, March 7th. That is the window for just booth products, in addition to ambient temperature samples as well. That's specifically for the advanced warehouse. If you're in the North Halls or ACC level 3, advanced shipment is the only way that you're allowed to ship to the convention center. You cannot ship direct to the convention center due to kind of where the docks are in the North Halls, and also with the third floor of the main halls. With the main halls, you do have, as I kind of mentioned before, the targeted floor plan. That is also when you're allowed to ship your product direct only to the main halls specifically. that would be the same days of that targeted floor plan. So usually a day or two before the actual start day of the event. That's when kind of ambient temperature materials or samples would be allowed to be sent.
And I would just add to that, if you're required to use advanced shipping, great. If you're not, I would still use advanced shipping. When we go to outside shows, we always ship to advanced warehouse, and that way they can bring our stuff to our booth. If you ship it late and ship it direct, we're loading in, 3,000 exhibitors, and it takes a lot of time for it to get to your booth, and it will add stress to your plate. And so when we travel places, I err on the side of advanced warehouse, and then it's easier to know that it'll be there. I mean, things still happen, but it's the most secure way to do it.
How can agencies most effectively connect with exhibitors before, during, and after Expo?
Can you repeat the first? You're saying agencies? What
Yeah.
type of agencies?
I mean, kind of like service providers probably, or whoever is not media buyer, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I think that for service providers, there are a lot of service providers that do walk the show and connect brands. We also have some service providers that will exhibit with us because you're targeting the people around you, but then you have a meeting space. So I think those are the best two options: is walking the show floor, being a participant at the show, or having a booth.
Yeah, I would say too that just be mindful, because the brands, one of their main goals are to meet like buyers, retailers, and how they can like grow their business, and then they can hire you guys. So just be mindful, if you're talking to a brand too long, they might be feeling like a little anxious. They don't want to be rude, that some like buyers are passing by and they want to talk to them. So I would say research a lot about the brands that you want to talk to. Just try to connect in person, say something like nice that you know about them, leave a card or get their card to follow up later, and then talk more with them during the parties. That's what I would recommend. Okay, 5 last minutes. How could we find out about meeting rooms with retailers, and where could we get that information?
So the meeting rooms that retailers have are their private meeting rooms, and they're invitation only. And so you are not able to just walk up to a retailer's meeting room and walk in and have a meeting with them. Any buyer any retailer that is having meetings will be sending out those emails of specialized meetings that are more of a, hey, sign up here, come in for those meetings, or they will prearrange those meetings. It's always buyer led.
How do you find if the buyer is going or not? Or find the list of retailers attending. You guys have a list, right?
We can't release the list of individuals that are going, but what we do is probably here pretty soon, I think we're working on updating that, and we will have a list that says these companies have people that have registered to attend. Because there's privacy laws that we have to monitor, so we can't give individual contact information, and we can't guarantee someone's going to be there until they scan their badge and walk in the door. But we do put up a sample list of the types of buyers we have, and it's anywhere from the independent retailers to the large chains and the distributors. We have a lot of broker partners as well that attend the shows.
And I would say too, sometimes they are in panels, right? So you can like look who are going to participate in panels or talks, who are going to attend some events. So for example, the startup CPG party, if you go on the Eventbrite, there is a huge list of retailers going. So again, yeah, as Michelle said, we can't confirm they are there. They said they are going to be there, but if something happened, they are not there. But that's how you can find out. There is another one that I saw here. Is someone asking, I can't find the question, but is someone asking Oh, here. If I am I don't know what LIFO means. I'm thinking about inline booth maybe. In hot products level 1, can I still come Tuesday to see the room and get the lay of the land without moving my stuff in?
So yeah, for that would be the last in, first out booth as a LIFO. Technically, I don't believe that the security team you would be able to pick up your badge and it would be an exhibitor badge and that would allow you into the building. Yes, that would be the case. The security team would not don't have like a checklist of who is a last in, first out booth compared to a kind of standard arrival booth. With that, it definitely would be kind of the main issue with the last in, first out booths is that a lot of them are right next to the roll up doors. So that specific area is where it is just a freight aisle until the morning of the show. So you would be able to enter the building, yes. There would just be nowhere for your booth wouldn't even exist until the morning of the show, effectively.
Yeah, but that is a great time to kind of explore the rest of campus and get a layout outside of the show floor. It's really hard to move about the floor during move-in. There's just pallets and all sorts of craziness everywhere. So you can certainly get on the floor and go see where your booth will be. But outside of that, movement is going to be really hard on the floor. So definitely recommend kind of exploring the rest of campus outside of the show floor.
And then last question, do you have any recommendations on where/area to stay if you plan to stay in Airbnb? I think where is available, I'd say by now a lot of places are booked.
Yeah, I would say anything in the immediate area that you could find, you would be very lucky. We do have our no names deadline coming up for hotels, and occasionally hotel rooms will open up, but it requires you to basically refresh and refresh and refresh those hotels like all day, every day. Airbnbs are maybe a little bit easier, but a lot of people do use them. So if you find something close, take it.
Yeah, like started CPG team last year, we stay by 15-18 minutes by car. So we also had to consider traffic. So when you stay farther, it's a little challenging, but it can work.
Yeah, absolutely. And just plan for that traffic because it does get a lot of traffic, keeping in mind that we are right at Disneyland. And so there's Disneyland plus the Expo West Super Bowl basically happening. So it does bring a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
And on that traffic note, on show days when you do not have a cart full of stuff, if you're planning on having a car full of stuff that you're bringing in yourself, definitely pay attention to our shuttles. All that information is on the website, but that is going to be your best bet for parking anywhere near campus and getting ahead of that traffic. We prioritize shuttle traffic in.
Perfect. And then just last question, what is the deadline for the booth approval? Do you guys have that?
Yeah, let me pull
question.
that. Let's see. So
whoever asked that gets a star.
Oh, so that's me.
I'm surprised Decker didn't know off the top of his head. He's been reviewing so many booth approval forms. So
yeah. So technically, the deadline for submission is this next Friday, January 19th. If you need a little bit of extra time, that'll be fine. We'll probably extend that to just kind of the end of January as needed. But January 19th is when we are expecting the bulk of our submissions to be submitted.
Okay, good thing that I asked. Perfect. Well, I appreciate you guys' time and being here, answering all the questions. I'm sure that more questions will come up. Is there any way or that they can, sorry, who should they contact from the New Hope team if there is any other questions that they have?
I would say the customer service team, if you're already an exhibitor and you have the questions about the exhibitor service kit, Robert, you can drop the the email in the chat, please. And then Patricia, we didn't talk about this, but I want to ask or say one more thing really quick. If you are not signed up for a booth yet, there are a couple of spaces remaining in the startup CPG section. And as we talked about, that show directory deadline is coming up. Patricia can share with you the application and the details and the special pricing, but we do have a couple for a couple lucky brands, but you better act fast.
I appreciate you sharing that. I was gonna forget about it.
I'm too excited about it. It's gonna be so fun.
It's gonna be great. We are getting media around it, inviting all of the retailers that is going to go at the party to, you know, we're going to like promote your booth, guys, for them. So New Hope's going to promote you. So you're doing an effort to make sure that you guys have the best time ever. But thanks so much for everyone that joined us. Thank you guys. I really appreciate our partnership and your time for being here. Use the Slack too to ask questions if you guys want to ask the community something, but also make sure that you have everything ready and ask New Hope for very specific and technical questions. This is going to be shared. We are going to upload this probably by tomorrow. I can share with everyone the link for the recording, but that's all. I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
everyone.
us.
See you
Thank
in
you.
Anaheim.
See you
Bye.
soon. Bye.